hidden in the timeless wisdom of the Upanishads lies a truth so profound it shatters our very understanding of self. These ancient texts don't merely suggest, they boldly proclaim that you are not who you think you are. The Vedic sages discovered the ultimate revelation. Enlightenment isn't some distant achievement, but your original state, your birthright. What obscures this luminous reality? Nothing but the veil of conditioning and false perception you've accumulated. Their revolutionary insight cuts through millennia. Awakening requires no acquisition of wisdom, no spiritual achievement, only the recognition of what has always been there, waiting beneath the thin surface of ordinary consciousness. Consider this possibility. The spiritual transformation you seek might already be unfolding within you, subtle yet profound, reshaping your perception of reality moment by moment. The ancient rishis described enlightenment as the recognition of Atman, your essential self, merging into the infinite ocean of Brahman, the ultimate cosmic reality. This union represents the highest achievement of human consciousness, yet, paradoxically, it remains your most natural state of being. The Upanishads teach that this awakening process leaves unmistakable signs along the path. These markers of spiritual evolution appear as fundamental shifts in perception, emotion, and understanding. Changes so profound, they permanently alter your relationship with existence itself. Today, we explore 5 powerful indicators that your consciousness stands at the threshold of a magnificent transformation. Signs that the veil between ordinary awareness and enlightened perception grows increasingly transparent in your experience. The first sign manifests as a growing sense of detachment from material desires. This detachment differs entirely from apathy or depression. Rather, it emerges as a liberating recognition that objects, achievements, and external validation cannot provide lasting fulfillment. The Katha Upanishad illustrates this wisdom through the story of Nachiketa, who rejects wealth, power, and worldly pleasures offered by Yama, the god of death, choosing instead the knowledge of the eternal self. Similarly, your awakening consciousness begins to recognize the ephemeral nature of material pursuits. You might notice this detachment appearing spontaneously in your life. Perhaps expensive purchases no longer deliver the same thrill, career achievements feel strangely hollow, or social approval seems increasingly irrelevant to your sense of worth. The Upanishadic sages would recognize these shifts as vairagya, the natural falling away of desire that accompanies spiritual maturation. This detachment brings extraordinary freedom, allowing you to enjoy life's pleasures without becoming enslaved by them. Material things transform from desperate needs into simple preferences, creating space for deeper fulfillment to emerge. The second sign appears as heightened self-awareness cultivated through meditation and contemplative practice. The Chandogya Upanishad describes this awareness as the ability to witness your thoughts, emotions, and sensations without becoming entangled in their drama. This witnessing consciousness, Sakshi Bhava in Sanskrit, creates a profound shift in your relationship with mental activity. Rather than identifying completely with every thought that crosses your mind, you begin experiencing thoughts as passing phenomena, like clouds drifting through the vast sky of awareness. This growing self-awareness reveals itself through subtle changes in daily experience. You might catch yourself observing your reactions during emotional situations, noticing the space between stimulus and response growing wider. Perhaps you've experienced moments of pure presence while walking in nature, cooking a meal, or sitting in meditation. Intervals where thinking subsides and direct experience takes precedence. These glimpses of pure awareness represent your consciousness touching its true nature, free from the constant narration of the thinking mind. The Mandukya Upanishad describes 4 states of consciousness: waking, dreaming, deep sleep, and turiya, the transcendent 4th state that witnesses the other 3. Your growing capacity to observe your own mental processes indicates movement toward this 4th state, the foundation of enlightened awareness. This witnessing quality brings remarkable clarity, allowing you to see habitual patterns, unconscious reactions, and limiting beliefs that previously operated beyond your awareness. Through this expanded perception, transformation becomes possible. The 3rd sign of awakening manifests as a deepening perception of impermanence in all physical phenomena. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad teaches that everything in the material world exists in constant flux, arising, abiding briefly, then dissolving back into the unmanifest. As your consciousness evolves, this fundamental truth becomes increasingly apparent in direct experience, rather than merely intellectual understanding. You begin perceiving the ephemeral nature of all forms, including your own body, emotions, and thoughts. This heightened awareness of impermanence transforms your relationship with time itself. The present moment gains extraordinary significance, while past regrets and future anxieties lose their grip on your attention. You might notice yourself savoring simple experiences with newfound appreciation: the taste of food, the sensation of breathing, the play of light through leaves, knowing each moment exists uniquely, never to be repeated. Simultaneously, difficulties become more bearable through the recognition that this too shall pass, applying equally to pleasure and pain. The Isha Upanishad describes this perception beautifully. The face of truth remains hidden behind a circle of gold. This golden circle represents our attachment to permanence, stability, and certainty, the illusion that anything in the manifest world can provide lasting security. As this illusion dissolves, tremendous freedom emerges. You begin holding life more lightly, embracing change as the very nature of existence, rather than resisting its inevitable flow. This shift brings both profound peace and vibrant aliveness, allowing you to participate fully in life without the burden of expecting permanence from inherently transient experiences. The 4th sign appears as expanding compassion toward all beings. The Chandogya Upanishad teaches Tat Tvam Asi, that thou art, revealing that the same consciousness animating you exists within every living being. As awakening progresses, this truth transforms from philosophical concept into lived reality. Boundaries between self and other begin dissolving, replaced by recognition of fundamental interconnection with all life. This recognition naturally gives rise to karuna, spontaneous compassion that requires no effort or moral imperative. This compassionate awareness manifests through subtle shifts in perception and behavior. You might find yourself responding with unexpected patience toward difficult people, recognizing their actions stem from their own suffering. Perhaps animals, plants, and natural systems evoke deeper care and consideration in your choices. Even toward yourself, harsh judgment may yield to gentler understanding, as you recognize how universal human challenges operate through your particular experience. This compassion differs from mere sentimentality or emotional reaction. It emerges from clear seeing, recognizing the shared consciousness beneath all forms. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad describes the enlightened state as one where everything becomes the self. This unity consciousness represents the ultimate flowering of compassion, where separation dissolves completely. While full enlightenment may unfold gradually, expanding circles of compassion signal your progress along this path. Each moment of genuine empathy, each choice made from care rather than self-interest, each recognition of yourself in others reflects consciousness awakening to its true nature. Boundless, interconnected, and inherently compassionate. The fifth sign emerges as recognition of the illusory nature of ego. The Katha Upanishad compares the ego self to a chariot, with consciousness as the passenger, intellect as the charioteer, mind as the reins, senses as the horses, and objects of desire as the paths they travel. This metaphor reveals the constructed nature of identity. The I you typically consider yourself exists as a useful vehicle, rather than your essential nature. As awakening progresses, you begin experiencing this truth directly, recognizing the ego as a functional aspect of human experience, rather than your fundamental identity. This recognition brings remarkable freedom from the ego's constant demands for validation, achievement, and control. You might notice yourself laughing at the ego's dramatic reactions, watching its strategies with compassionate amusement, rather than complete identification. Perhaps you've experienced moments where the sense of being a separate self temporarily dissolves. During deep meditation, creative flow states, or profound connection with nature, revealing the spacious awareness that constitutes your true nature. These glimpses beyond ego represent consciousness touching its source. The boundless field of pure being described in the Upanishads as Sat Chit Ananda, existence, consciousness, bliss. Beyond these five primary signs, the Upanishads describe additional markers of spiritual awakening worth exploring. The experience of inner bliss, independent of external conditions, signals profound spiritual maturation. The Taittiriya Upanishad describes 5 progressive layers of bliss, each more subtle and profound than the last, culminating in Ananda, the limitless joy inherent in pure consciousness. This bliss differs entirely from ordinary happiness, dependent on favorable circumstances. Instead, it emerges spontaneously from within, requiring no external trigger or stimulation. You might recognize this shift through subtle changes in your emotional landscape. Perhaps you've experienced moments of inexplicable joy arising during ordinary activities, washing dishes, waiting in line, or simply breathing. Maybe you've noticed a background contentment persisting even through challenging circumstances, like a deep current flowing beneath surface waves. The Upanishadic sages would recognize these experiences as glimpses of your natural state, consciousness touching its inherent blissfulness beyond the fluctuations of circumstance and emotion. This inner wellspring of joy brings extraordinary freedom, liberating you from the endless pursuit of pleasurable experiences. External events lose their power to determine your emotional state, as this self-existing bliss becomes increasingly accessible. The ancient texts describe this freedom as the natural result of recognizing your true nature beyond the limited identity constructed by mind. As the Chandogya Upanishad declares, where one sees nothing else, hears nothing else, understands nothing else, that is the infinite. Where one sees something else, hears something else, understands something else, that is the finite. The infinite reveals itself as boundless joy, your natural state beneath the mind's constant fluctuations. Another significant marker appears as recognition of the divine in all beings. The Svetasvatara Upanishad teaches that the same consciousness permeates everything in existence, from humans to animals to plants to seemingly inanimate objects. As awakening progresses, this understanding transforms from intellectual concept into direct perception. The world itself begins appearing as various expressions of the same fundamental consciousness, each form uniquely manifesting the infinite in finite terms. This perception might reveal itself through unexpected moments of connection with people, animals, trees, or even stones and mountains. Perhaps you've experienced a sudden recognition while gazing into a stranger's eyes, perceiving the same awareness looking back at you through different form. Maybe animals or plants have revealed their sentience to you in ways that transcend conventional understanding. The Upanishads would recognize these experiences as piercing the veil of separation, glimpsing the underlying unity described in the famous Mahavakya, great saying, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman, the ultimate reality. This recognition brings profound reverence for all life forms, naturally inspiring ethical behavior without external rules or commandments. When you perceive the divine in everything, causing harm becomes increasingly impossible, replaced by spontaneous care and consideration. The ancient sages described this state as living in alignment with Dharma, the cosmic order that sustains all existence. Your individual actions naturally harmonize with universal principles, as the boundaries between personal will and cosmic intelligence dissolve through deepening awareness. Attaining clarity through self-inquiry represents another crucial sign of awakening consciousness. The practice of Atma Vichara, questioning, who am I, beyond all temporary identifications, stands central to Upanishadic wisdom. This inquiry penetrates beyond name, form, occupation, relationships, beliefs, and personal history to discover what remains when all transient aspects fall away. As awakening progresses, this questioning becomes less intellectual exercise and more direct investigation into the nature of consciousness itself. The clarity emerging through self-inquiry manifests as increasing discernment between the unchanging witness consciousness and its ever-changing contents. The Kena Upanishad poses the profound question, by whom directed does the mind proceed to its object? This inquiry points toward the mysterious source of awareness itself, that which enables all experience, yet cannot itself be experienced as an object. Through persistent questioning, you begin recognizing this foundational awareness as your essential nature, distinct from the thoughts, sensations, and perceptions it illuminates. This clarity brings extraordinary freedom from identification with mental and emotional states. You might notice yourself remaining centered during situations that previously triggered automatic reactions, recognizing that thoughts and feelings arise within your awareness without defining your identity. Perhaps you've experienced moments where the mental narrative temporarily suspends, revealing the spacious presence that contains all experience. The Upanishads describe this clarity as vidya, true knowledge that dispels the darkness of ignorance, avidya, regarding your essential nature. Living in alignment with cosmic truth emerges as another powerful indicator of awakening. The Mundaka Upanishad distinguishes between two types of knowledge: apara vidya, lower knowledge, concerning the manifest world, and paravidya, higher knowledge, revealing ultimate reality. As consciousness evolves, these two knowledge systems increasingly harmonize in your experience. Daily choices naturally align with deeper principles, as the artificial boundary between spiritual practice and ordinary life dissolves. This alignment manifests through growing integrity between inner understanding and outer action. You might notice yourself making choices that reflect universal values rather than personal preference or social conditioning. Perhaps work, relationships, and lifestyle naturally transform to express your evolving consciousness without forced effort or rigid discipline. The ancient sages would recognize these changes as the natural fruit of awakening, consciousness reorganizing its expression to reflect its true nature, rather than conditioned patterns. The Isha Upanishad captures this integration beautifully. By renouncing it, enjoy it. This paradoxical teaching reveals that true enjoyment of life comes through inner renunciation, not rejection of experience, but freedom from attachment to particular outcomes. As awakening progresses, you participate fully in life while maintaining inner freedom, bringing extraordinary aliveness to ordinary activities. This alignment creates a life increasingly characterized by purpose, meaning, and harmony with broader patterns of existence. Experiencing moments of transcendence during meditation signals profound spiritual development. The Mandukya Upanishad describes Turiya, the fourth state beyond waking, dreaming, and deep sleep, as pure consciousness transcending all objects of awareness. During deep meditation, you might experience intervals where individual identity temporarily dissolves, revealing the boundless awareness that constitutes your true nature. These glimpses beyond separate selfhood provide direct experience of what the Upanishads call Sat Chit Ananda, existence, consciousness, bliss. These transcendent experiences might manifest through various meditation phenomena, perhaps moments where the body seems to disappear, boundaries between inner and outer dissolve, or time itself appears to suspend. You might encounter states of profound stillness where thinking ceases completely, revealing the silent awareness that precedes all mental activity. The ancient sages would recognize these experiences as consciousness touching its source, providing direct knowledge of what intellectual understanding can only approximate. While transcendent experiences provide valuable glimpses beyond ordinary perception, the Upanishads caution against attachment to special states. The Katha Upanishad teaches that the supreme goal lies beyond all experiences, including spiritual ones. This self cannot be attained by instruction, nor by intellectual power, nor by much learning, but by him alone whom it chooses. True awakening transcends even the most profound meditative states, revealing the ever-present awareness that contains all experiences, while remaining untouched by their changing nature. Recognizing the eternal self beyond the body represents perhaps the most fundamental sign of spiritual awakening. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad declares, "The self indeed is all this." This revolutionary understanding reveals that your essential nature transcends physical form, existing as the very consciousness in which all phenomena appear. As awakening progresses, identification shifts from the limited body-mind to the boundless awareness that animates physical existence. This recognition brings profound freedom from the fear of death that haunts ordinary consciousness. The Katha Upanishad presents the dialogue between young Nachiketa and Yama, the god of death, revealing that what knows birth and death cannot itself be subject to these transitions. As you recognize your essential nature beyond physical form, death transforms from terrifying end into natural transition. The body returns to its elements, while consciousness, your true identity, remains untouched. This understanding brings extraordinary peace, allowing full participation in life without the shadow of existential dread. The shift in identity from body to consciousness manifests through subtle changes in self-perception. You might notice yourself experiencing the body from within as sensation, rather than conceptualizing it from without as object. Perhaps you've recognized that the awareness perceiving physical experience remains unchanged despite the body's constant transformation through growth, aging, and health fluctuations. The ancient sages would recognize these insights as piercing the fundamental illusion of materialist worldviews, that consciousness emerges from matter, rather than matter appearing within consciousness. This recognition culminates in the supreme teaching of the Upanishads, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. Oris. This declaration reveals that individual consciousness, Atman, exists inseparably from universal consciousness, Brahman, like waves arising temporarily from the ocean without ever becoming something other than water. As awakening deepens, this truth transforms from intellectual concept into lived reality, dissolving the fundamental sense of separation that creates suffering in human experience. The journey toward enlightenment, described in the Upanishads, unfolds uniquely through each person's experience, influenced by temperament, life circumstances, and spiritual maturity. Some individuals might experience dramatic awakening events, powerful kundalini activations, spontaneous samadhi states, or radical shifts in perception occurring suddenly. Others encounter a gradual unfolding, subtle realizations accumulating over time, progressively transforming consciousness through persistent practice and deepening understanding. The Upanishadic sages emphasized that enlightenment itself transcends all descriptions, existing beyond the mind's capacity to conceptualize or categorize. The Kena Upanishad declares, "There the eye goes not, speech goes not, nor the mind. We know not, we understand not how one would teach it." This teaching reminds us that all descriptions of awakening, including the signs explored today, serve merely as pointers toward direct experience beyond words and concepts. Despite this ultimate ineffability, the signs we've explored provide valuable orientation for sincere seekers. Recognizing these markers in your experience brings confidence that spiritual evolution unfolds naturally through your consciousness, encouraging continued practice and exploration. The Upanishads teach that enlightenment represents your natural state, requiring no acquisition of special powers or accumulation of esoteric knowledge. Rather, awakening involves progressively recognizing what already exists as your essential nature beneath layers of conditioning and misidentification. The practical path toward nurturing these awakening signs involves several key practices emphasized throughout the Upanishads. Regular meditation creates space for direct recognition of your true nature beyond thought and sensation. Self-inquiry penetrates habitual identifications, revealing the unchanging awareness behind all changing phenomena. Ethical living aligns your actions with universal principles, creating harmonious conditions for consciousness to recognize itself. Study of sacred texts provides conceptual frameworks supporting direct experience. Devotion opens the heart, dissolving the ego's resistance through surrender to higher wisdom. These practices work synergistically, addressing different aspects of human experience while pointing toward the same fundamental recognition. The Upanishads emphasize that spiritual practices themselves eventually dissolve into direct knowing, like a stick used to stir the funeral pyre, ultimately being consumed by the same fire. The awakened state transcends all methods and techniques, revealing itself as the ever-present reality that required no achievement, merely recognition of what always existed as your true nature. As you continue exploring your own consciousness, remember that awakening unfolds through ordinary human experience rather than requiring escape from worldly existence. The Isha Upanishad begins with the powerful declaration, "All this, whatever moves in this moving world, is enveloped by God." Seekers, this teaching reveals that enlightenment involves recognizing the sacred nature of existence exactly as it appears, discovering transcendence within immanence rather than beyond it. Your daily life, with all its challenges, relationships, work, and simple pleasures, provides the perfect laboratory for consciousness to recognize itself through your unique experience. The journey toward enlightenment, described in the Upanishads, represents humanity's highest potential, consciousness awakening to its true nature through individual experience. The 5 primary signs we've explored: detachment from material desires, self-awareness through meditation, perception of impermanence, expanding compassion, and recognition of ego's illusory nature, provide valuable markers along this path. Alongside these, we examined additional indicators: experiencing inner bliss independent of circumstances, recognizing the divine in all beings, attaining clarity through self-inquiry, living in alignment with cosmic truth, experiencing transcendence in meditation, and recognizing the eternal self beyond physical form. These signs manifest uniquely through each person's journey, appearing gradually or suddenly, depending on individual temperament and spiritual maturity. The detachment described in the Upanishads liberates you from endless craving, revealing that true fulfillment emerges from within rather than through external acquisition. This freedom transforms your relationship with material existence, allowing full enjoyment without desperate clinging or insatiable hunger for more. Objects, achievements, and relationships find their proper place as expressions of life's abundance, rather than sources of ultimate satisfaction. Self-awareness, cultivated through meditation, creates space between pure consciousness and its contents, allowing you to witness thoughts, emotions, and sensations without complete identification. This witnessing capacity brings extraordinary freedom from habitual reactions, creating choice where previously automatic patterns dominated. The Mandukya Upanishad's description of Turiya, the transcendent fourth state, points toward this fundamental awareness that contains all experience while remaining untouched by changing phenomena. Through regular meditation practice, this witnessing quality becomes increasingly accessible in daily life. Perception of impermanence transforms your relationship with time itself, bringing heightened appreciation for each moment, alongside freedom from attachment to particular outcomes. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad's teaching that everything in the manifest world exists in constant flux becomes direct experience rather than abstract concept. This recognition brings both profound peace and vibrant aliveness, allowing full participation in life's unfolding without resistance to its inherently transient nature. Difficulties become more bearable through the understanding that this too shall pass, while pleasures gain poignancy through recognition of their ephemeral nature. Expanding compassion naturally emerges as boundaries between self and other dissolve through recognition of shared consciousness. The Chandogya Upanishad's teaching, Tat Tvam Asi, that thou art, reveals that the same awareness animates all beings, naturally evoking care and consideration beyond egoic self-interest. This compassion differs from sentimental emotion or moral obligation, arising spontaneously from clear perception of fundamental interconnection. As awakening deepens, this compassionate awareness extends increasingly toward all life forms, recognizing consciousness, expressing itself through infinite diversity. Recognition of ego's illusory nature brings freedom from the constant demands for validation, achievement, and control that characterize ordinary identity. The Katha Upanishad's chariot metaphor reveals the constructed nature of selfhood. The I, typically considered yourself, exists as functional vehicle rather than essential nature. This recognition allows engagement with ego's useful aspects while maintaining awareness of your true identity as the consciousness witnessing the entire human experience. Moments beyond ego. During deep meditation, creative flow states, or profound connection, provide glimpses of the boundless awareness constituting your fundamental nature. Inner bliss, independent of external conditions, emerges naturally as consciousness recognizes its inherent nature as Sat Chit Ananda, existence, consciousness, bliss. The Taittiriya Upanishad's description of progressive layers of bliss culminates in Ananda, the limitless joy inherent in pure being. This happiness differs entirely from ordinary pleasure dependent on favorable circumstances, arising spontaneously from within, regardless of external conditions. As this inner wellspring becomes increasingly accessible, external events lose their power to determine your emotional state, bringing extraordinary freedom from the endless pursuit of pleasurable experiences. Recognizing the divine in all beings transforms perception of the world itself, revealing existence as various expressions of the same fundamental consciousness. the Svetasvatara Upanishad's teaching that the same awareness permeates everything becomes direct experience rather than philosophical concept. This recognition brings profound reverence for all life forms, naturally inspiring ethical behavior without external rules or commandments. When you perceive the sacred nature of existence, causing harm becomes increasingly impossible, replaced by spontaneous care and consideration flowing from clear seeing rather than moral obligation. Clarity through self-inquiry penetrates beyond all temporary identifications to discover what remains when transient aspects fall away. The Kena Upanishad's profound question, "By whom directed does the mind proceed to its object?" points toward the mysterious source of awareness itself, that which enables all experience, yet cannot itself be experienced as an object. This inquiry reveals the foundational consciousness as your essential nature, distinct from the thoughts, sensations, and perceptions it illuminates. This clarity brings freedom from identification with changing mental and emotional states, allowing centered presence amid life's inevitable fluctuations. Living in alignment with cosmic truth manifests as growing integrity between inner understanding and outer action. The Mundaka Upanishad's distinction between aparavidya, lower knowledge of the manifest world, and paravidya, higher knowledge of ultimate reality, dissolves. As these domains increasingly harmonize in your experience, daily choices naturally express universal principles, as the boundary between spiritual practice and ordinary life dissolves. This alignment creates a life characterized by purpose, meaning, and harmony with broader patterns of existence, bringing extraordinary aliveness to ordinary activities through freedom from attachment to particular outcomes. Transcendent experiences during meditation provide direct knowledge of what intellectual understanding can only approximate. The Mandukya Upanishad's description of Turiya points toward pure consciousness beyond all objects of awareness, your true nature beyond individual identity. These glimpses beyond separate selfhood reveal the boundless awareness constituting your essential being, providing experiential foundation for the revolutionary understanding that consciousness precedes and contains all phenomena, rather than emerging from material processes. While valuable, the Upanishads caution against attachment even to these profound states, emphasizing that true awakening transcends all experiences. Recognizing the eternal self beyond the body brings freedom from the existential fear dominating ordinary consciousness. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad's declaration, "The self indeed is all this," reveals that your essential nature transcends physical form, existing as the very awareness in which all phenomena appear. This understanding transforms death from terrifying end into natural transition. The body returns to its elements, while consciousness, your true identity, remains untouched. This recognition culminates in the supreme teaching, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman, individual consciousness inseparable from universal consciousness. As you reflect on these signs in your own experience, remember that awakening unfolds uniquely through each person's journey. The Upanishads emphasize that enlightenment represents your natural state, requiring no acquisition of special powers or accumulation of esoteric knowledge. Rather, awakening involves progressively recognizing what already exists as your essential nature beneath layers of conditioning and misidentification. Through practices like meditation, self-inquiry, ethical living, study of sacred texts, and devotion, consciousness naturally evolves toward recognition of its true nature. The wisdom of the Upanishads remains as relevant today as when first articulated thousands of years ago, addressing the fundamental human quest for meaning, purpose, and freedom from suffering. These ancient teachings remind us that enlightenment exists not as distant achievement, but as your birthright, the recognition of what you have always been beneath the veil of limited identity. The signs we've explored serve as guideposts along this journey of self-discovery, indicators that consciousness evolves naturally toward recognition of its boundless, blissful, eternal nature through your unique human experience.